We'll do it both sides because we're going to end up here, aren't we? But it's just, you know what, you're better to pull than to push, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. You do this in Dublin, don't you?
I certainly didn't.
Jonathan Edwards, the longest triple jumper in history.
I had such a belief that I had to make the most of this ability that I had.
A man who knows he's on the verge of greatness.
I need to visualise how far it is.
So this is the takeoff board, and there's normally 3 takeoff boards. The men take off from the 13 metres, so 13 metres from here and to the sandpit.
Okay.
The women will generally take off, well, they will, they take off at 11.
Takeoff.
So it's a left foot takeoff, and I'll probably be about 6 metres 50 for my hop. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think about here. That's where my hop would. That's where my hop would land.
That's a left foot land.
That's a left foot land. Hop.
Wow.
And then we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd be about 5 metres. So about 11:40, 11:30 hop and step.
That's the step.
That's
from
the
left foot to right.
that's the step. So that's always that's the shortest one. And then in the world record jump, it was the jump that was the one that did it, which was 7 metres. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And
That's it.
that's where the gold medal was won.
Yep.
That's where the world record was taken.
Yep.
How fresh in your mind is the 7th of August, 1995?
There's not much fresh in my mind these days, Ian, to be honest. Look, it feels like another existence almost. It's almost timeless. It's kind of, in some ways, hard to believe it happened. There was one moment that I remember from the jump, from the second jump, which the one that's still the world record, is when from my hop to my step, there was just a moment when I had to pause and wait for the landing before doing the final phase. And it was in that moment I knew the jump was better. And I'd looked beforehand at what the conversion was from metric to imperial, and I knew that 1829 was 60 feet. 60 feet in quarter of an inch. So when it came up, I knew that's what it was, because I thought, well, you know, the 18-metre barrier would obviously be one thing, and then the 60-foot barrier would be something else. You know, when I first came here to the northeast, on wing and a prayer, literally pretty much, back then, and you just said to me, "You're going to achieve all of this." And I said, "There's just no way. That's not going to happen." Came up to Durham to study physics, and then when I was at university at Durham, my father put me in touch with a guy called Carl Johnson, who was a national coach. I was also a member of the Durham University Athletics Club, and they used to come up here every 2 weeks. Gateshead Harriers signed me up. In fact, I think it was a race between Gateshead Harriers and maybe Morpeth Harriers, and I think I ended up with Gateshead because they asked me 10 minutes beforehand. So that was my connection with the Northeast. And then when I got to the end of my university career, I had that decision to make: as what do I do the rest of my life? And our lives have been sort of taken over by this jumping into a sandpit.
It's a bit more than that.
Yes.
When does the event, the performance, the jump start?
But it starts since I start running.
As you start?
I mean,
When
my preparation would be, as soon as the person before me had started his run up, I'd be ready to go and I'd be on the runway.
Standing at this point, looking at the crowd, and
I'm not worried about the crowd. I mean, I might do a bit of a clap, but I'm not particularly looking at them.
So you're not going.
Yeah, no, I'm not orchestrating them.
No.
Really. I mean, that just focuses the crowd on the fact that you're there and you want their support, and them actually being behind you does matter. But certainly in the major championships, I was less concerned about putting on a show, which is what it is when you come here to Gateshead, and I've jumped here many times with, you know, a great local supportive Northeast crowd, and, you know, had some wonderful memories here. But when you get to the major championships, it's just, you know, it is about winning, it's about jumping as far as you can, rather than creating a spectacle.
So what's your lead foot?
On left foot,
Left foot lead.
18 strides. And really, I just go as fast as I can. I mean, I'm not, at that stage, it's automatic pilot. There's no real conscious thought process here. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to go wrong on the run-up, to be honest. If you're struggling with a run-up, good luck with a triple jump. So naturally, on the run-up, you know, as long as I'm in good shape and I'm running well, there's not much to go wrong.
You're still trying to tow that board.
Well, I'm not trying to tow the board.
Are you not?
No, I take the view that the board isn't a barrier. The jump begins when I do my first stride and it ends when I land in the sandpit. And I don't want any artificial break in that rhythm,
Right.
whether it be the board, the hop step, or into the pit. So my theory was that the board, I would be looking straight ahead, and here's the board, and it just happens to be underneath my foot. Yes, exactly. I had, you know, such a belief that I had to make the most of this ability that I had, and found that in many ways incredibly fulfilling. Yeah, belief. I mean, I've been on an interesting journey as far as belief goes, that's for sure. And you know, as extraordinary as breaking the world record was, it was equally extraordinary. I lost this faith that I held so close for so many years, and in which I was brought up by my parents, you know, with so much love and devotion from them.
Well, I never dreamt that when I sort of said to him those many years ago, God's given you a talent, go and use it, that it ever materialised in this. But
you know, things change, I guess. But you know, my belief and the support of, you know, my wife and the church family made a huge difference to me. It really did. And not many people think about that when they say about the sacrifices. And I always say it was more the sacrifices of Alison and the boys. And the sort of, once I jumped a long way, it became very difficult to go out in public and just have a normal, well, let's go for breakfast somewhere, let's go out for lunch, let's go out for a pizza. No. Yeah, well, Sam was born in '93 and Nathan was born in the May of '95. Nathan didn't sleep for 8 months. I think that was probably about right.
Alison was back home.
Well, Alison was back home. She was very aware of the impact that, you know, what was happening at home might have on my jumping, and she did everything that she could to sort of protect me from that. It was very much a whole family effort. Yeah. Well, hello and welcome to Florida, the Sunshine State. We've come, Alison and I and the boys, to about 250 miles northwest of Orlando, to a place called Tallahassee, which is actually the state capital of Florida. I could get away from the pressure in Tallahassee, actually. The training somehow felt different, being in a different environment. But yeah, we shared that journey, and it was very special. My whole life was turned on its head, and it wasn't now just a simple cottage industry of me trying to be the best jumper I could be. It was a business. Brendan was very supportive, and indeed Brendan was always very supportive. You know, back in the early years, the Great North Run Foundation gave me a grant which made up for the part-time work that I was doing in the hospital. Yeah, he's been a really, you know, a fantastic friend to me and a fantastic support. And without, you know, I think probably his wisdom, you know, alongside Norman Anderson, because he'd been there with Crammy and
Tell
with
me
Brendan.
about Norman.
Yeah, well, I mean, Norman I met here in the gym at Gateshead, and he was a powerlifter and a very good powerlifter at the senior level. And I'd obviously done some work with him as a physio, but the relationship became much more than that, and he was essentially my main sort of coach.
And the way he's going, I mean, he could jump 18 metres. And that's not silly talk. I mean, it's still. That's not to say he will.
I would describe him more as a second dad than a coach. You know, a great friend, mentor. I still see Norman pretty regularly, and again, you know, there's another person I couldn't have done it without.
And that's all there is to it. Anybody could be a triple jumper.
The key thing, I mean, not so much with running, but the key thing in the jumping, you know, you're jumping 6 meters and a bit and you land, and you've got a period of time when you sort of absorb the force and then go into the next phase. The whole time you're touching the ground, you're rotating. And if you over-rotate, that's what commentators talk about, over-rotation, then you're not in a position to effectively use the ground and to propel you into the next phase. I mean, if you're here, it doesn't matter how much speed you've got, you're not in a position to jump and you're just going to almost fall forward. I mean, the question that people always ask is why has it lasted so long? And I think the main thing is I don't think anybody jumps like I jumped. You know, I was very light, very quick, and my contacts on the ground were so short compared to everybody else. And in doing that, I was able to maintain my speed. And it was almost more like a bounce than a jump.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, no, absolutely. Nothing defies physics. There's a little air bubble in there. The idea was that you took back a little bit of Swedish air. So wherever you were in the world, you could remember Sweden and have a little bit of Swedish air. Because one of the things they say is, you know, do you prefer to, you know, win medals or to break records? People say, oh, well, nobody can take the medal away.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't realise when I broke the world record is that you do get something that can't be taken away. So this is, for the world record, the second jump in Gothenburg. The first one was 1816. I also have a plaque for 1816. I mean, this for me is, you know, and more important, my Olympic gold medal. I think to have done something, you know, my chosen discipline, better than anybody else in the history of the world, is something that I don't think I'll ever get used to.